Hi, I'm Dr. Keith Johnson. Let me ask you a question of a personal nature now. I don't want you to answer the question. Actually, I want you to ask yourself the question, as I do, in self-examination. Why am I here? What do I really want to accomplish? What is it in life that I want to do? Sounds deep. Yet every day you ask yourself that same question time and time again until you get to a point where you've been able to answer it. And that's what you need to do. You need to ask those questions and then answer them. Millions of people have no idea who they are or why they are here. So many of us wander in mental oblivion, making wrong decisions and watching our world crumble before our eyes, not even knowing why, and not realizing that we are actually responsible. If you need statistics, all you have to do is pick up the paper and look at the number of divorces that are taking place right now. 2 out of 3 marriages usually doesn't work. And I imagine it's worse than that with relationships that fall apart before they get to marriage or don't even register in marriage. Number of murders increases in the past 6 months, as I'm sure you know. Think of assaults by juvenile delinquents who are being brought up by confused parents who have no idea how to raise their children or how to stop them from doing whatever it is they're doing. No one who gives birth expects their child to be a delinquent. Nobody that gets married expects to have a divorce. And it goes on and on. What's our problem? Why do you and I always run into things that we know we shouldn't be doing anyway? Well, it's our refusal to understand that it is our problem and that we're creating it. And that we can, if we choose to do it, stop it. And we need to stop it if we can. But we ignore it. We ignore our history. We just let it go and refusal through trial and error to make decisions and learn from our wrong decisions how to make and perform the right choice we don't pay attention to. Of course, the results reveal that all this unsuccessful decision making, simple examination of who you are and why you are and what you're doing, might change the trend. It's possible that if you looked at your history, you could find your own solution. You could see the lies that you keep propagating that you shouldn't, or the ideas about yourself that you have that maybe you could stand to change a little bit. It's hard to tell. Whatever it is, we're not paying attention to our history and we're just making our future worse. One of our biggest problems is that we assume everything is going to turn out all right without any planning or realizing that we've got to have goals and have a proper direction. Our indefinite decisions affect our future and the future of those who depend on us, who also learn indefinite decision making. The essence of critical living is making decisions and then paying attention to their results so that we can learn. C.S. Lewis said, "He who does not pay attention to his mistakes is forced to repeat them." We need to pay attention to our history and to our mistakes and understand what decisions we're making that we could have changed if we had looked at our history. Some of us don't have the courage to say yes or no. I can't tell you how many times I run into clients who I would ask questions of and they would say, "Well, I don't know." They'd come in for career counseling and need a place to be found of employment. And I would say, "What kind of job do you want?" "I don't know." If you don't know, who does? Who's going to work there? Who's going to find that job? Maybe if I was lucky enough to come across some place that would hire you, would you know what you're doing? Would you want to understand what you're doing? And how would I know where to find some place if you don't? My point is, you need to take control of your destiny and figure out who you are and what you need to do before you begin to wrestle with the process of making successful decisions. You need to understand what your goals are and who you are. What do you want to accomplish? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Is it your goal that will determine your behavior? Do you have the courage to say yes or no? If you're going to a wrong goal, is it possible you need to change that so your behavior is better? You spend your time and your life at the place where you target as a goal. That's why you need to know exactly what it is that you want to accomplish. Let's suppose that your goal is to rob a bank. Where are you going to spend your time? At the bank. You're going to be studying the activity so you know how to rob it. If you want to get a college degree, where do you spend your time? You spend it at the college getting your credits. Make it possible for you to degree. If you want a college degree, how do you spend your nights? You spend them in homework so that you can work on that grade. Or you can be like the majority of people and just assume everything's going to be okay. Maybe somehow you're going to whiz by and sneak through that degree and diploma. You want to set your goals and understand who it is that you are and what you want to accomplish. That will change the double-mindedness. The Bible says that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Are you unstable in your ways? Double-mindedness. You need to set your focus and to know what your target is. There are problems that need decisions because of the activity that's bringing you to your goals. Now you're ready to deal with a problem by going through the decision process. Expert decision makers can go through the process quickly and solve many problems, both theirs and yours. And they become known for their wisdom. Too many people rely on impulse or intuition to make their decisions, which ultimately cause us to experience divorce, delinquency, crime, war. Many, besides just the decision makers, live the consequences. If we walk before we run, if we slow ourselves down to determine the good and the bad of what we're about to do and why we're about to do it, we can greatly improve our activity and the quality of our life and the quality of the lives that depend on us. Then you're ready to go through what I would call the decision-making process. You've already made some decisions. Now you have a chance to straighten your life out. What do you want to do, and why is it causing you problems? Why is there a decision necessary, and what method are you going to use to get there? Do you want a significant other? Want more romance in your life? You want a close friendship? You want more social life? Are you unhappy with your job? Would a raise in pay solve your problems? And if you determine that such is the case, what are you doing to make certain that you're going to get a raise in pay? Are you using your talents? And how? Where's your passion? Where are you unhappy with life? Why do you need to make a decision in the first place? These are basic questions, all decisions that must be made in the midst of problems that you face. And if you're not asking these questions, you're beating around the bush. You're riding on impulse alone, and though it may work sometimes for a while, it'll more often than not make you perplexed and frustrated, and you're complicating the process. Many ways to define a problem that you probably have not ventured. The more specific you become about the problem, the more attention you give to it, the more accurate you are in making a proper decision to eliminate the problem. Part of your success is based on the morality of the decision you're trying to make. The experience has probably already told you that there are always more than one ways to solve a problem, and not all of these routes are right or healthy. If you are poor, many ways that you can try to get rich. But some of the decisions many people make to get their newfound money are neither healthy nor morally right. One of the greatest ways to help you make a decision is to study your own passion and desires, and to understand where your talents want to take you. If you follow your passion, you'll be doing what you want to do, what your own life is saying to your psyche. It's very possible that if you find a job that's in your passion, that you'll never have to work a day in your life. College students that come to me wanting to know what college major they should study to get a degree always hear me ask the most important question. What do your talents tell you about yourself? If you're poor in math, you shouldn't be an accountant. If you have an excellent singing voice, you enjoy singing, you should consider making a living singing. And maybe that's what you were made to do. Or whatever your talent happens to be. Follow it and enjoy it. Fine-tune it and figure out what it is you need to make it work for you. Are you making a proper choice that'll guide you in life because you're educated? Are your solutions there where you can figure it out? Are you just taking a guess and a gamble and seeing what happens? If I ask you, what are your talents? Do you have an immediate educated answer? Or are you like so many that I've run into who say, gee, I'm not sure. I don't know. You don't know what your talents are. Who does? I don't know what your talents are. I don't know what you're supposed to do. You have any kind of inkling as to what you're supposed to do or who you're supposed to be? You know, you've got some clues already in life. You get married, you're going to have to be a wife. And you're probably going to have to be a mother. You're going to have to be a husband, and you're probably going to have to be a father. If you decide to take a job as a bus driver, you're probably going to have to drive a bus on a given route. You probably have to drive it on a regular basis. If you become a doctor, you're probably going to spend a lot of time in the hospital. These things are already set. And all you have to do is know what your goal is, and then follow in obedience and learn how to do it well. Now, just because you're working on the proper choice to guide your life doesn't mean that you've got all the necessary equipment to do it. For example, if you decide as you're listening to me, well, I'd like to be a nurse, you can't just be a nurse. You have to be educated as a nurse. Well, I'd like to be a teacher. We can't just be a teacher. You got to decide what you're going to teach and what you've got talents at. All of these clues are in your life, and they take time to study. Just as anything in school, life being a school process, makes you have to study. So you ask the basic questions, like, what are my talents? Do you have an educated answer to that? If there is a career that you want to pursue, do you know what the education is required so that you can get that career, and are you working on it? If, as a parent, you're having trouble raising your child, you ever gone to a seminar on parent training skills? Are you aware of the education available to help you become a better parent, and have you studied them? Now, these solutions need to be researched. You don't just automatically become a great parent or a great teacher or a great singer or a great dancer, whatever you think would just come naturally. And that's part of our problem. We don't take time to study what we need to understand to have the proper education to make our world a better place. I'm not saying go to school necessarily. Life is a school. People you know are part of your education, and what you learn from them you can experience. You have to pay attention to yourself, to your friends, to your environment, and to the advantages as well as the personal disadvantages to help you make whatever decision you need to make properly so you can know who you are and what kind of goals are realistic. Just because you've done the research, you still have to supply the input as to what is better or worse for the decision-making process. You've got to honestly ask questions objectively and see where your research takes you. Maybe you've got a talent for math, but you still hate the idea of being an accountant. You have to pay attention to yourself and the advantages as well as the personal advantages to make your decisions properly. Sometimes the best choice is temporary, depending on the circumstance, and that means that the choice will only work for a certain period of time. There are very few permanent decisions. In fact, believing that a decision is permanent is usually fatal. Getting married and assuming marriage is going to be permanent no matter what is almost always fatal unless you work at it. We can lose if we don't make a decision to refresh our marriage every day. Every new day of our job needs to be refreshed, and every relationship without fresh decisions will be ended very soon. There are short-term goals and long-term goals. You need to identify which is which and how each applies to your situation or situations, whatever it might be. Each plan, each decision is simply a starting point for learning to make life what you want it to be, for making proper decisions and getting where you need to go. You set goals. Some of those goals have to be very realistic. If I go into a 4-year college and I start today, it's going to be about 4 years in school until I get that degree. And is it going to be worth it for me to do that? Well, I'd like to think that maybe I could get it in 6 months. We go to schools that have 6-month programs, but they're usually not bachelor's degrees. So you have to decide what it is you want to accomplish. And you can bet when you're going to have a child that you're going to be stuck at least 18 years. And let me tell you, Mom and Dad, you'll be stuck all your life with your kids. They never outgrow you, and they always need you. Don't kid yourself that somewhere along the line you're going to get a vacation. You need to be creative to search the long-term and the short-term goals and become aware of them. You need to look at your options, and then you need to start making some decisions that matter. Those decisions that you make now are going to affect you in the near and far future. Change them as they need to be refreshed. Learn to live happy and in the wisdom of making right and proper decisions, and pay attention to your history. Tell yourself what you've learned. Be firm about where you've learned to go and what you need to do. Be creative. Search your options. Make decisions. Change them as they need to be refreshed. Admit your mistakes. And learn to live happy and in the wisdom of making the right and proper decisions for your sake, for God's sake, and for the sake of your children, and the sake of our entire future. Good luck to you. God bless you. Thank you for listening.